Today I want to show you an article of a video game outlet that simply cannot move on. I talked about the Cuphead controversy literally last video and how Dean Takahashi is absolutely freaking horrendous at it. And then just recently GamesBeat decided to make an article recapping this year, but instead of making an article actually recapping the good and bad moments in 2017, they decided to make an entire article dwelling on the most shameful one and making tons and tons of excuses about it. It's like if I make a 2017 recap by dwelling about my edging fetish, and only that. Stick around for 5 minutes, you'll probably know that I'm also into futa domination. My bad. I think we should just go straight to the article because this is just horrendous.
2017 was the year of gamer rage opportunists.
Ooh, gamer rage opportunists. What makes you think that way, GamesBeat? I decided to cover this article because it got the gal to provoke my buddies. The article dared to post a video with the thumbnail containing rags on it, which I'm going to let him do his duties on ripping it to shred like a good doggo. Then the writer got into a little bit of flack with Fringy on Twitter, and after going back and forth between a couple of legitimate talking points, the journalist decided to just insult him for having a fake British accent, not only ignoring the fact that he's Australian, but also weirdly claiming that he's from Arizona, to the absolute amusement of everyone. Another interaction is with another guy named Cartoon Loon, who also shows that this journalist is being completely disingenuous. Dean is good at Total War and strategy games, but he's being told to play a platformer. The journalist dodged the question and disingenuously framed the guy into asking a dumb one. In other words, we're dealing with someone who refuses to address any sorts of points, so any of you who decided to tag this person on Twitter with my video on it, be prepared to waste about 6 hours of your life arguing with a brick wall. I'd rather you spend time fapping to hentai, but as I am making this video, turns out the guy has been deleting his tweets, so don't tag this person unless you want to waste your time getting through a black hole. Speaking of black holes, I want to give huge thanks to Noodle Bombs for the Monogatari-inspired fan art, which ironically came out right after my dentist visit. Thanks for the fan art. It's pretty lewd.
Gaming has always had angry fans. All hobbies do. Part of creating a successful business is producing passionate customers. And maybe it's a sign of gaming's maturity or the new gig economy that this has turned into a group of people finding ways to capitalize financially by stoking the flames of those passions.
That's right, apparently gaming YouTubers right now are capitalizing financially by stoking the flames of the customer's gaming passion, the spark to lick the fire that will burn game journalism down. March on, my viewers, as we're gonna burn them into the ground by nuking them from orbit and shagging their waifus as they have committed the sins of being horrendous at video games. Also donate to our Patreons. The thing is, this journalist is on the mindset that Dean Takahashi's gameplay is fun, cheerful, and hilarious, but I challenge you to watch that raw gameplay footage video without thinking that this is a secret governmental torture program being leaked into the public. That raw video is in the description. Be warned, you will suffer.
Content creators on YouTube are making money by precisely targeting an audience of insecure fans who are predisposed to believe that their favorite hobby is under siege from outside influences, whether they be the dreaded social justice warriors, feminists, or yours truly, gaming journalists.
Yes to every single one! You're the sort of person who thinks that 20 minutes of torture is funny, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're just gonna downplay their roles without thinking too much of the consequences. How is the gameplay footage of a game journalist who has 25 years of experience working inside the game industry being horrendously abysmal at video games funny? It's like watching a bodyguard not knowing how to reload a gun. You might find it amusing for once, but then you find out that this person is in charge of protecting your family.
Those videos feed into various echo chambers on Reddit and Twitter, which then takes that content, rips on it endlessly, and then feeds more conspiracies on attacks on gaming back to the YouTube creators.
Conspiracies of attacks on gaming. I mean, I don't know about you, but all I did was just to report the facts and giving my opinions based on the facts. And the fact is that game journalists are horrendous at video games. If you consider those things conspiracies, I'm glad I'm making my Lord and Savior Kenji Seto to be proud.
The reaction to this was disproportionately loud, and I was astounded to see how YouTube creators, neo-reactionary opportunists on Twitter, and Reddit posters formed a false narrative that instantly turned into the widely accepted truth.
What false narrative, I might ask? Oh, you mean the false narrative that all game journalists are bad at video games? Well, it's not that I'm saying that all of them are bad at video games, but can you really blame us when I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos talking about how horrendous game journalists are, not only in playing video games, but also in being journalists ironically. And I don't make those videos based on nothing. All of those videos are based on articles constantly talking about either how gamers are entitled or how video games need to have an easier difficulty. The facts are there, you just refuse to take responsibility and call gamers a bunch of conspiracy theories, which in that case, I want you all to hop into my beautiful spaceship before the nuke arrives.
It turns out that Dean is this bad at all games all the time. He also hates games and he only writes about them to push his SJW, pronounced S-Jew agenda on meager...
Okay, so this is the false narrative that gamers are pushing. Dean is only writing for video games to push his S-Jews agenda. Does this make him anti-Semitic? I still have no idea what S-Jews mean, and I still have no idea whether or not it's anti-Jews or pro-Jews. Dean also hates video games. Has anyone ever claimed that? I certainly didn't. I don't remember making that claim. So the writer is pulling all of these claims out of his ass, clearly to strawman everyone, which is quite ironic as we get through this article.
But once you see that pattern, you'll see it repeated over and over everywhere. And the underlying engine that powers this whole system are the YouTube creators. You see, there's always money in convincing gamers that they are under assault from people who aren't 100% true gamers, who want to outlaw all existing games and replace them with walking simulators about lesbians and Planned Parenthood.
Okay, so you complain that gamers have ridiculous conspiracy theories, but then you insert your own ridiculous conspiracy theories about how gaming YouTubers are convincing gamers that they're under assault from people who aren't gamers. Well, at least you're correct that there are YouTubers that claim that gaming is under assault by people who aren't gamers, but don't even think for 1 second that they're wrong on the things they say. Call them conspiracy theorists all you want, but SS Kenji is a beautiful spaceship, and it's going to be filled with hell of a lot more gamers by the time the nuke arrives. The guy then proceeds to make fun of Alpha Omega Sin. Oh boy, Alpha, you need to see this, fam.
Alpha Omega Sin, one of the top YouTubers in the yelling loudly to entertain children who lack developed language skills genre, is so pissed that the SJWs and journalists, always say journalists with disdain, think this cartoon game is the height of bigotry.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, Alpha does have the tendency to ramble at times, but that doesn't necessarily mean he is wrong. You not only mocked his audiences, but you also mocked him. I don't know about you, but you don't want to mess up with Alpha, especially his audiences. He gets that title for a reason.
He's clearly found some really damning proof of his claims because he... Let me check my notes here. Okay, he doesn't actually have any evidence. Instead, he just found some headlines and seemingly manufactured his rage out of nothing because those stories from Unwinnable, Kotaku, and others never actually call Cuphead racist.
Actually, he is correct in that assessment. I have this article right here. I summed it up on Twitter, in fact. Kotaku is just basically reporting it verbatim. Now, what the article basically says is that Cuphead is not racist, therefore it's racist. Doesn't make sense, I know, so let's be specific. The argument is Cuphead is racist because it refuses to include the racism elements in early 30s cartoon, therefore whitewashing history, and you can't just ignore and whitewash history, that's pretty freaking racist.
By sidestepping this kind of over-the-top caricature, Cuphead attempts to represent the best of the jazz era's relationship with cartoons, and there's a lot of good to be found. Calloway is an electric performer, and cartoons like the Fleischer's 1933 film The Old Man of the Mountain and Betty Boop in Snow White do far better justice to his inimitable style. At the same time, these examples feature his voice in the body of an old white man and a white-faced clown, respectively. When it comes time for cartoons to represent him as a human being, his lips ballooned up, his eyes grow, and he is forced into the minstrel mold, the only way that animation studios seem to be able to envision black characters for decades. That Cuphead follows the path of the Fleischers and hides what could have been his likeness behind an anthropomorphic talking dice is historically in line with black representation in animation. Once it becomes full pass to depict bad characters as minstrels and racist caricatures, then the solution appears to be not depicting them at all.
That's right, Cuphead is racist because it doesn't depict the racism of 1930s cartoon accurately, therefore whitewashing history. You cannot win with these people. And the article also whines about diversity and white people.
It's a mistake to whitewash history, not if we hope to improve upon the present. After all, the animation industry is still so white that a roundtable about diversity last year had only white men on it. The video game industry is no better. It's difficult to argue against the idea that this lack of diversity winds up having a strong effect on the kinds of stories that get told, and the sorts of aesthetics and time periods studios feel comfortable borrowing from in the first place.
There. Need I say more? Oh, also, I have another article talking about how not only Cuphead, but the GitGud culture is ableist. That is a horrendous shield to use because many disabled gamers have been rocking toe-to-toe, even against able-bodied gamers. So your only valid excuse is incompetence and laziness, neither of which you're willing to admit.
None of this is to say that gamers or even these content creators aren't truly angry. The point here is just that what they are angry about is often in their imaginations.
That is a lot funnier than S-Juice. Oh my god. So what we're angry at is just in our imagination. Excellent point, article. And you know what else is in your imagination? The conspiracy to ruin video game journalism and all of those claims and arguments you pulled out of your ass. That is unless reporting your horrendous mistakes daily on Twitter count as a conspiracy, which in that case, please join the spaceship. The nuke will be coming in approximately now.
Reality clearly doesn't matter, and Alpha Omega Sin and others have learned throughout 2017 that they can spin up a story about games under attack with or without evidence, and they will get views and engagement from an audience desperate for validation of their rage, and that was the defining trend of the last year.
Except we do have evidence, game journalists. This is our first evidence, and this is our second evidence. But even after we shoved these evidences down your throat, the first one you downplayed and the second one you ignored. If you want me to sum up game journalism in 2017 is not only sucking at video games, but deliberately giving false reports to push certain narratives, and the narrative is that we are never wrong and you guys are a bunch of idiots. Basically game journalism since ever. And just to be clear, GamesBeat, it's not that we're saying that you're going to take over the world, it's just that you are horrendous at your job, and your defense on that is basically, oh, look at these silly YouTubers with their conspiracy theories. So you refuse to take a good look at yourself in the mirror and improve yourselves. You just want to shift the blame to your audiences who are giving legitimate critiques and frame them as conspiracy theories. Gotcha, GamesBeat. I hope this move can gain you about as equal viewership and subscription to that of Alpha and Rags combined.